as well. So the truth lies somewhere in between. So again, primary data collection, it's essentially analysis that is conducted by the research team that collected the data to address the original hypothesis. So what that means is that if you collected data to answer a very specific hypothesis, and then you use that data later on for something else, that is no longer primary data. That's now secondary data, even though you are the one that collected that data, right? This is a very specific definition by NIH. The primary data collection has to meet certain criteria. One, you collected the data, you or your team, and it was done to answer a very specific, hypothesis. Every other thing is secondary analysis. So whether you collected data from another team or whether you used publicly available data, or whether you collected the data, but you're using it for some other objective other than the primary original hypothesis, all of those will be classified as secondary analysis of existing data. So let's look at some of the data sources for secondary data. There are quite a few of them globally. I'm just focusing here on global data sets. The US has a lot of data sets, but I realize that most of the people in the audience might be international. The Eurobarometer is an international survey of all the 27 or 28 EU member states. It's conducted very routinely and collects information on a very broad range of topics. The same thing applies to the European Interview Survey, the European Social Survey, and the European Values Study. They all cover, European EU member states, and some, of course, countries outside the EU as well. Then you have the next four surveys: the GHPSS, the Global Health Professional Student Survey, the Global Adult Tobacco Survey, the Global Youth Tobacco Survey, and the Global School Personnel Survey. Those are surveys that form part of what we call the GTSS, the Global Tobacco Surveillance Systems. So GTSS is a global surveillance system that is conducted by WHO, CDC, and in collaboration with individual countries' ministries of health. And so hundreds of countries are involved. And so they provide very rich sources of data for research. GHPSS is the target population covers third year medical, dental, pharmacy, and nursing students from around the world. Global Adult Tobacco Survey is a survey of people aged 15 years or older and is designed to be nationally representative. It's a household survey. The Global Youth Tobacco Survey is a survey of students between the ages of 13 to 15 years old, and it's a school-based survey. And it's designed to be standardized, so you can compare estimates around the world. Then the Global School Personnel Survey is a survey of teachers or school personnel in the schools that were surveyed for the Global Youth Tobacco Survey. So when we go there, we say, oh, well, let's kill two birds with one stone. We survey the students, we survey the teachers or the personnel. And so that's what forms the Global School Personnel Survey. And then you have the demographic and health surveys. This is golden because it also includes biomarker. So it's a global survey, and it has, if you're doing work on HIV, for example, or tobacco, those are very rich sources of data you might want to explore. Then a few of these are country-specific data. South Africa has quite a bunch of data. If you're from South Africa, like the SASAS. And then you have other sources of data that may not necessarily be individual level data, but provide rich sources of information, especially when you're interested in doing some or assessing some ecologic variables. So some of those will be our world in data and the GHO, the Global Health Observatory, as well as the Eurostat. K-Enhance is the South Korean version of US's Enhance. Enhance is the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. It's the gold standard for surveillance in the United States because it has data, not just self-reported data, but it also has laboratory data as well as examinations by health professionals. And then the Empower reports are also very important sources of data, especially when you're looking for ecologic variables at the national level. So those provide very rich sources of data. And so you can definitely use some of those for your research. Now, for primary data collection, we're going to go a little into talking about how you can design questionnaires to make sure that they are complete. Part of what we have on the curriculum today, on the syllabus today, is to see how do you go about making sure that the questionnaires you're trying to construct are complete and that it covers all aspects of what you're trying to research. We're going to use the Chisquares platform to demonstrate the processes of data collection because it has very robust features for all aspects of surveillance. So whether you're doing longitudinal studies are simply studies where we'll follow people over time. And we do that because we are trying to tease apart issues of time. Like we need to understand that the exposure came before the outcome. And so longitudinal studies are great in that regard. And the platform also allows you to do representative sample to clean your data automatically. And if you're interested in data, objectively measured data, like images that have been imported by the user, that can also be done. And then, of course, you can translate your survey and do a whole host of other things. So we're going to go through some of those things. Now, before we go to our demo, I just wanted to impress on us some of the rules we have to keep in mind when we go about either collecting data for primary analysis or secondary analysis, because those are fundamental principles that should guide us. Because at the end of the day, we want to publish a paper to tell a story, right? So these are some of the things we want to keep in mind. Number one, data is not equal to information, right? The whole point of the whole journey we're going through is to tell a story, is to provide information, right? And that information is based from the data. So we just want to acknowledge that data, we need to get data because we want to extract information from the data. When the desirable is not available, the available must become desirable. So the bottom line of what I'm trying to say is that you have to be flexible as a researcher. You have to be innovative. And innovation simply means that, well, I want to achieve this. I would love to use primary data, well, but I don't have the money or time or the resources to do that. Innovation simply means, how can I use existing data sets? If you have never ever published with secondary data, well, you are missing. You are really in the dark because there's so much you can do with secondary data. If you wanted, you could, like I said last time, if you wanted, you could write in one paper per week with public data, right? And you will do that for the rest of your life because there's so much publicly available data that exists. So it requires a lot of innovation to realize that, okay, well, it is what it is. I cannot change the variables, I cannot add, but how do I use this to answer questions that matter? Now, not all data are fit for use. So data being analyzed for research should be fit for use and fit for purpose. So sometimes we go through the whole process of collecting data and we've spent so much of our time and effort and the resources that we just want to use that data by all means. But sometimes it's best not to even use the data if they're not fit for use. Fitness for use simply means, can this data be used for anything? Data may not be fit for use if there are major fundamental issues with it. For example, if we have extensive missing values, like imagine half of the data sets, some of the responses that have missing values on critical issues. Maybe that question is very, that data set becomes very questionable. Or if data is too old, you have a data set that you've been hoarding for so long, it's now 10 years old. Maybe it's not so much fit for use anymore because the landscape has changed. The information we're getting from that data may not necessarily be reflective of the current landscape. We also want to realize, number 4, that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So simply put, when you get the information from a data, you want to be cautious in how you interpret it. If your result says that a certain association was not significant, well, don't die on that hill, right? Because realize that it's possible that it really is significant, but your study just was not able to detect it. So the whole point of rule number 4 is to say that realize that your data is not the ultimate source of truth, and where you find absence of evidence, just be cautious about it because the absence of evidence may not necessarily reflect evidence of absence. And then number 5, local is better. So every day, anytime, local data is better. So because it informs practice. When we publish data, we have two almost opposing priorities. One is to inform policy, where we are, to inform practice, to change things. But we also want to uplift ourselves. We want to publish in the top journal. And so those things are almost like contradictory, because if we're collecting local data, that means that it may not be so attractive to international journals. So the solution is to use local data, but frame things from a global perspective, right? So that our data, although local, has implications for the whole world. People elsewhere can also learn from what we have provided. And so don't act as though you lived in a cave. So think global, even though you're using local data to act. Number 6, don't ask of the data more than what data can answer. That is so important. That reflects in the kind of research questions you ask. Don't ask questions that are suggestive of causality, right? Because your data may just be cross-sectional and you may not be able to answer that from the data. Don't collect good quality data, so that what you're using in the data in the analysis can adequately do what you're trying to assess. So it's very important to make sure that from the very design onwards, you pay very careful attention to how data have been collected. Number 7, data cannot speak for itself. So you have to, a human being has to interpret the data, has to tell us what data is saying, right? Data cannot speak for itself. So we have to realize that. So we hold a lot of power in our hands. And so because we have the obligation of looking into this data and providing information from that data. So it's not enough to just analyze data and just provide tables. You have to interpret the data and tell us what you're saying. And as you're telling us that story, it has to be in the context of the limitations of the study. So please don't overinterpret the data. Don't oversell the data, because that would be unethical. You also want to tell a story. For you to be able to be successful in writing, you have to be a good storyteller. Every story has a plot, has an actor, so the same thing, right? Our studies must have the studies you're publishing, the stories you're telling must be ones that are logical, that a reader can grab users' attention and tell a story. So that is something we're going to emphasize this in the next week or so, when we're going to talk about the art of writing in a paper. Number 9, as simple as possible, as complex as necessary, but always reproducible. The goal is to tell a story, to provide information that will move policy, that will move practice, and that will move the needle on things that we care about. The goal is not to impress anyone. So it is completely unnecessary to go and bring some fancy methodology just to appear more sophisticated. That is so unnecessary. So use the simplest methodology that is possible. So it should be as simple as possible, but at the same time, it should be as complex as necessary. So we don't want to do simple for the sake of simplicity. If we absolutely need to use a complex methodology, we have to use it, right? So as simple as possible, as complex as necessary, but our work must always be reproducible. And then the last point is all about being pragmatic. Primary data where you must, and secondary data where you can. Right. And so that's a pragmatic perspective that should guide how you approach work, especially for people who are doing a master's or PhD. How can you perhaps use secondary data for some things and then use primary data for some things? Because obviously you don't want to stay in school forever. You want to graduate first, and then you can save the world. So these are some of the things that you want to keep in mind when you collect data, or when they're using existing data for analysis. So now we want to go to the second part of our session, where we'll look at practical aspects in data collection. Like, what are some things we want to keep in mind when we are collecting data for whatever reason? And so I'll stop here and see if there are any burning questions from what we have covered so far. Any questions or thoughts from that before we move on? Longile, are we all good?
So far, yeah.
All
Let
right,
me
super.
see that 0.5. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, there are two hands. Ishmael. Ishmael. Okay. Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof, for the lecture. I was here last week also, and it was very insightful. So I have a question from this particular session you just took. You said something like, okay, on number 5, local is better, but don't act as though you lived in a cave. Think global, act local. So I just finished my master's, research, and it's required to be on the local scale. So it was more like focused on Lagos State. So I worked on artificial intelligence among healthcare professionals in Lagos State. So now I'm at the stage of publishing, and I am currently searching for journals to publish in. And drawing from last week, I from what you taught, if it is local, then it may not actually attract international journals, the editors. So now I am trying to look at how I can think global, because it's been a lot of issue for me. I've already worked with a very local data in Lagos State. So is there a way I can just flow with this number 5 at this stage of publication, or should I just focus on, my manuscript for those local journals in Nigeria? Yeah, that's my question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's a good question. So first things first, there's nothing wrong with publishing in local journals, right? So, I mean, we need to support local journals so they can grow, right? So that's something that I need to emphasize. Now, but I also realize that in some institutions, for you to be promoted, they want to have a realistic mix of local journals and international journals. So being realistic means that we have to figure out, how do you then publish internationally? In your case, you've already collected data, you've analyzed it. So along the lines of point number 5, thinking global will mean that what are some issues that are transportable from your context to others? It may not be generalizable, but are there things that can be transportable to other settings? You can frame your study that, okay, Lagos is a major city in Nigeria. Things happen in Lagos have implications for other parts of the country, but also have implications for other economies in Africa, right? Given that it's an ultra large city. And so the issues that are covered in your paper might be directly relevant to other major cities, not just in the African region, but also elsewhere, right? That also Lagos is a major hub that connects the rest of the world with Africa, so people, with very high rates of, migration from Nigeria, the issues affecting Lagos will soon affect other countries because people there live. And so because of globalization, there is reason to believe that the issues in your paper, although from local data, might have relevance to also a more global audience. So it's, you're not changing the data, but you're now talking about how you're going to connect the data points to the rest of the world, right? So, so it's using your data, your local data as a launch pad to talk about global issues. Of course, those supported by the data. So, so the point of number 5 is saying that even if you're going to use local data, don't just say, oh, the implications for Lagosians is so and so. No, think global in terms of the implications, either regionally, maybe in West Africa, or just, across Africa overall, or maybe the rest of the world as dictated by the data. All right, next question.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I just want to get clarification about the data. I actually completed my MPH, and I did a research surrounding mothers and children. So I just want to ask, what do you mean by local data and using international data? Although for what I did, most of the data I got was global data, because the research I did was they've done it so much, they've watered it down overseas, and coming down to Nigeria here, maybe it's not really a problem of focus or something in Nigeria, but I just felt, let me just do something that has not been done, or it has been done but has not really been expanded or something. So is it that the data I have is a local data, or although I drew upon the data that I got online to work with? So I don't know, please.
Okay. So
Thank you,
when we
sir.
say you're welcome. So when we talk about global data, so remember we said I showed you some surveillance systems, like for example the Global Youth Tobacco Survey. Sometimes we take data from like 100 countries and say evaluation of X, Y, and Z issue among adults in 100 countries. You see that we're pulling data from so many countries. Of course, that is going to be very appealing to any journal because the mere number of countries involved, the population involved is global, right? And so that is what I was referring to. So it's not about the topic itself, it's about the population that formed the study. So one way to easily do, again, this is why you all have to become experts in analysis of secondary data, because you can easily, this is one very easy way to build your career. You can just look at global issues, right? Assessment of XYZ in among adults in 10 countries or 15 countries or in sub-Saharan Africa, right? You're looking at multiple countries together. And of course, there's lots of data that you can do that with, easily. And so that is what we're referring to. We will share access to, let me see. We'll share access to this. Let me see if I can find this. Dropbox. We're going to share with you some of the data you might find helpful. This will be some of the global data we have that. So, for example, the GYTS data sets. This is from all countries of the world. We have cleaned the data sets and prepared them for analysis, so you don't even have to do the work of cleaning the data. So that's one of the things we can share. So imagine you are trying to look at smoking prevalence among youth in 100 countries, right? That is global data, and of course, that's going to be very appealing to journals. Now, imagine if you had to do the work of going to these countries yourself. It's impossible for any one person to do that. But when you now use data sets that have already been collected, you can easily do that, right? And so what we've done is we've access all this data, clean them, standardize them, so it becomes very easy to analyze. So for example, for Congo here, this is the code. So this is also a good way for you to learn how to analyze data for each of the country. This is the code used to clean the data sets you have there. So if you learn how to program, for example, this is an awesome way of doing it. You can grab the code, you can get the raw data and try to replicate some of the things that have been done in that data. That way you build that expertise as well. So so that's what we mean by international data or global data, right? It means simply international data simply means it's more than one country involved. You have two or more countries involved in the analysis. I hope that's clear. All right.
Thanks.
Next question.
Dr. Abayomi.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Prof. You are doing a great job. Thank you so much. This is very insightful. Yes, I just picked my question from your last discussion or answer to the last question. And that I wanted to just know if the data you just showed us is available on Chi-Square, or you would have to share them with us much later. I'm an epidemiologist myself, and I love what you have just shown right now. Those are wonderful secondary data that will be useful to somebody like me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll share them with you later. But here, just to give some context, these are some of the things that you can. Here are some of the things that you can publish. So if you just search, for example, GYTS let's say tobacco, you'll see quite a lot of papers published on that data set, right? So you see quite a lot of work done. Some involving just one single country, but others involving several countries. So this is one way. Again, if you're new to research, you don't have money to go and conduct, collect primary data, this is your best option. You learn how to analyze complex data, and we're going to have a workshop on that sometime soon. And then you can then take. So let me show you some of the work we have done in our team, for example, with some of those data sets. Let's see, GYTS, if I can find some of them. So for example, look at a topic like this, exposure to school-based tobacco prevention interventions. Like, this is data from 38 countries, right? That's a lot of countries. And the only way you can be able to do such things is if you are using secondary data sets like that. Let me find some other work we've done that involves such large scale data sets. Let's see. So it's a very, very easy way for you to really build your publication record without having to like spend a lot of money on collecting data, because getting data is not easy. It's expensive. And so this is again very, very low hanging for you to be able to we're going to share some of the papers with you to see how you can pull some of those data sets together, but we'll have a session too, so be on the watch out for some of those. Any other questions? And then this is the EU data sets, for example, like I mentioned. This is looking at data from 28 countries, right? This is the Eurobarometer. You don't have to be a European to analyze European data, right? Just get a collaborator from there. That's how you also form partnerships and collaborations. But like I said, there's quite a lot of data between these data sets and many others which we did not even include. You have a lot of data on your hands to explore and to build up your publication record. All right.
Thank you. Wisdom.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Having listened to you mention about having local mindset, but local and then international or global exposure or global mindset. I'm working on a topic. I titled it government financing and the growth of startup ventures in the health sector of Nigerian economy. And having listened to you, I'm thinking of expanding it to have a global presentation, a global phase, by shifting it to IMF. I am so much interested in innovation building and venture creation. So I want to know how I can be able to get data from IMF to analyze the performances of startup ventures by IMF, that is IMF being the sponsors to that, and then getting data, global data on the performances of new ventures, global new ventures. So I don't know whether I make sense in my question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I would advise you, if you're interested in global issues, global data, you want to go to the Global Health Observatory. They have data across thousands of indicators. And so that would be your best bet. Of course, knowing fully well that the data you would find there wouldn't be individual level data, to be aggregate data for countries or subnational entities. But sometimes that's also equally important, because you might want to use those variables, within pooled analysis as ecological variables. And so but if you're interested in global issues, especially things that have to do with finance or, human development, your first bet is to go to the Global Health Observatory. All right, next question.
Charles.
Hello, Prof. Thank you so much. I just wanted to find out on this data, like you've mentioned one part of it. I wanted to like ask. Now I'm not in Europe, and you've mentioned I can find collaborators. So that is something I must do if I must have to publish a data in a region that I'm not residing. That is one. Two, on each of these data sets, I believe that we still have like countries inside. Do we have data from Africa in all of these 16 data areas that you projected here? Do we have any data set from Africa here? More specific, maybe like Nigerian data from Nigeria or West Africa as it is. Those are my first questions.
All right. So regarding your first question, it's not a requirement that you must have somebody in that country before you publish from there. It's more of just an academic etiquette. That if you're going to publish something in Congo, well, it makes sense to just invite somebody there. It adds credibility to the paper, and it just shows that it just shows academic etiquette. So, but it's not a requirement that, you must have somebody in that country. The second question, yes, all of these data sets are global, and there are several African countries in there. The GYTS I just showed you the African the waves in Africa. You have quite a number of countries there that represented. They're like all of these African countries. So so again, that's the beauty of data sets like this lies in that you can look at issues from a global perspective. You can say, apart from, and this is also one way to establish yourself as a global researcher. It's so easy because you publish things globally enough, well, you become globally recognized, right? It's also a very quick way to get a lot of citations very fast. Imagine you publish data on an issue that, maybe you pull data from 100 countries. That means that 100 countries are finding your data or your publication relevant, and it's been cited heavily. So also, if you're interested in, so bottom line, if you're interested in building your career very fast, well, you really should build expertise in analysis of secondary data. We had a workshop on this many moons ago, how to analyze complex survey data. Depending on demand or interest, we're going to have another one, so that we'll cover that. But I hope that answers the question. All right, we'll take two more questions and then we'll move on.
All right.
We'll take the rest
Ishmael.
Thank you, Prof. Good evening, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof. Hello?
Yeah, you're very audible. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Sorry, I'm kind of, I wasn't really carried along because I joined very late last week, Friday. So I'm kind of trying to follow up and grab the Chisquares platform. I've been listening and following all the discussions. I don't know, how do I start using, I don't know whether there is a link or from what the discussions going on portray, that there is a link or there is, I don't know, I'm just confused on how to articulate this whole thing in this discussion, please. Sorry, I'm bringing this question now, but I'm hopeful that I will really catch up.
That's fine.
You.
Yeah, you're fine. You'll catch up. Don't worry. So your question is, how do you access the Chisquares platform, and how do you begin to use it?
Yes.
So the first part of the question is, we're going to drop a link that will give you access to the platform. The second part of your question is, well, just follow along for the hands-on part of the session, and we'll go through the process of using the platform.
Okay. The hands-on is going to be in this lecture we are in now.
Yes, that's correct. Affirmative.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof.
You're welcome. All right, we'll take one more question, then we can proceed.
Ishmael, you're slow. Are you there, Ishmael?
Hello,
Okay,
Prof.
Ishmael.
Hello, Prof.
Okay.
Yes, I'm there.
Good evening, good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Oh my
Hello.
God.
Hello.
Sir, I'm confused. Hello, sir.
Yeah, what's your confusion?
Sir, for example, I conducted a research in Lagos State about if I will conduct another local government in Lagos State, can I use that general data for that Lagos to use in that local government?
So your question is, if you conducted data in a local government in Lagos, and you collected another data in another local government within the same Lagos, your question
No. The whole Lagos State, I conducted a general research about tobacco in Lagos State.
Okay.
If I will conduct another research in another local government under Lagos, can I use that general data to use for that local government?
So you had two different data collections from what you're saying. One was for Lagos overall. The second one was for a local government area in Lagos. So your question is, can you pull those two data sets together? Is that what you're asking? Can you combine them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would not know. Depends on the context. It depends on the two things, apples and oranges. If they are completely different things, well, you can't combine them. The general rule of thumb is that you cannot compare apples and oranges. So if the data set, one survey is asking XYZ and another one is asking ABC, you can't combine them, right? Nor can you make inferences from one to the other. You cannot generalize from that first local government to all of Lagos. Nor can you make, distill inferences from all of Lagos to that local government. So your best bet is to just focus on the population from which you analyzed. I hope that is clear. I hope I understood your question. But if that is the question, then you can't directly combine, but context will eventually determine what should be done best. Longile, was that the last question, or is there one more question?
There's another question.
All right, that's the last one, and then we'll proceed and then take all the other questions at the end.
Okay. Comfort.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much, sir. I sincerely appreciate. My question, among the 16, is there anyone that can give data on child labor among all these 16?
You are the lady from yesterday. Child labor issues. I remember you very well. When you're using secondary data sets, most of the things you might have in mind will not be necessarily exactly what is available there, especially when you're talking about individual level data sets. Like all of these data sets, most of them are at the individual level. So you may not necessarily have that exact thing there. So you might have to look at it carefully and say, well, I want to look at child labor, but I don't have child labor. What do I have? What can I use? Can I look at, another indicator, for example, that is in the data set? You might also want to look at, again, the Global Health Observatory. That one has data on all manner of indicators. So I'm very sure that you might find something that has to do with the indicator you're interested in there. All right, let's proceed. So any other questions you have, just keep them to the end of the class so that we can achieve the objectives of, one, talking about the existing sources of data, but also covering the other issue, which was, how do you think through your research question for primary data collection? Remember that our class covers both primary data and secondary data. So we've talked extensively about secondary. So let's talk about primary. So typically, we always talk about data collection from the context of academia, but I want to talk about it from the context of of contract research. It's not just, the only purpose for which we do research is not just to publish, do our research and do a thesis, right? There's a whole world out there, including the world of contract research. And by the way, I'm curious, is there anyone involved in contract research here? Does anyone like run a contract research organization here? Or are we just pure academics here? Can you raise your hand if you do work contract research? It doesn't matter the scale at which you're doing it, whether it's a very tiny scale or whether you are a global researcher. Okay, I see you. Okay, one hand. Oh, just one person. Okay. Oh, I think three parts.
2, 3.
Okay, not a whole lot. I'm surprised. All right. Okay, 6 hands. If I might ask, what kind of research do you do? Is it what scale? Is there? I just need one volunteer, one brave volunteer to tell me what they do in their contract research. And maybe this could inspire the rest of you to think outside just publishing to do a thesis or to advance your career, to see how you can make a career out of just the business of research. So is there any brave soul who wants to share what they do? No?
Good evening, everyone. So from my side, Prof, I don't necessarily work at a CRO, but at a CRS, at a clinical research site. And we do multi-center studies, some with Gilead. So we are on the implementation side of the different protocols. So we have a couple of studies that are, done locally and some internationally. I'm not sure if I've answered all of your questions.
That's awesome. And thank you very much. And so for those who want to, who are thinking of going to the business of research, I thought we might frame the second part of our lecture in the context of contract research, because the atmosphere is extremely different there. I mean, when you're doing your research, you have all the time in the world to spend 1 year and thinking about your questionnaire. But when you're operating, in the business environment, you don't have that luxury of time. Things have to be done contractually. The contract says that this is at this point to deliver the work. Well, you have to deliver the work at that time, right? And also the scale at which you are working is also very different. In your local thesis or work or whatever, you might be just doing a study in Lagos, but it's very rare, especially the bigger leagues, that you are just doing some small study in some small sites. Typically it will be large scale studies, international studies across many countries. So you need to build a competency to be able to do that. You need to be able to work fast and work well. It's not just speed for the sake of speed. It's also speed with quality, right? How do you deliver work that is exceedingly fine quality in an exceedingly fast manner? Because the stakes are quite different. So I'm going to go through some of the process and show you, how but also remember that some of the businesses or some of the topics that you might have to work on are things that you may have never heard about. Today a client might say, won't do research looking at this condition, this rare condition that you have never ever heard about, right? And you don't have all the time in the world again to come up with that topic. So how do you do that? So that's what we want to cover this session now. So as a case study, I want to talk about this particular project here. Let's see if I can find it. Let me pull up this question here. So I want to talk about a sample project that gives you some context on how that works typically. And so this is a project from a drug company, right? Looking at issues of quality of life among, a particular population. One of the things you have to realize, whether it's your study or, whether it's contract research, is when somebody comes to you and say, design a study for me, there's a reason why they are doing that study. It's not just to, oh, let's just do a study and publish it, right? The study is filling a need. So whether it's a grant you're applying for, or it's in contract research and you're trying to do a study for a company, they obviously had some pain points. That is why they came to you and said, do a study for us in 29 countries or in 35 countries, right? So you have to approach it from that perspective, that there is a real gap that they need. Now, in the pharmaceutical world generally, the reason why we do large scale surveys is because all of that information eventually goes into the GVD, the Global Value Dossier. The Global Value Dossier is a very long document that pharmaceutical companies will produce that would justify why they are charging so and so amount for a particular drug, right? So if we say, so that document is presented to, whichever agency in the particular country that is in charge of reimbursement. So say, here's why this pricing is this way. We've done international surveys, and this drug, this is a major issue, right? As indicated, not everything is solved from a clinical trial. A clinical trial simply shows that the drug works and is safe, but there are other issues, the personal issue, the emotional challenges that patients face that are best answered from a survey. So whenever you're working from that perspective, you have to understand that it's not just an issue of, oh, let's just do a study and just fill in with some random questionnaires and some random questions and just collect the money and go. No, that's not how it works. You have to understand the pain points by this company or this agency or this firm, and why it means so much to them, right? So in the case of pharmaceutical companies, yes, you have to provide compelling reason that this issue is a major pain point and that it impacts people's lives, their emotional lives, their psychosocial life. It impacts it negatively impacts the quality of their life, right? And that is why this treatment is so important. When you fail to recognize that, make that connection, and you deliver results that, deliver a questionnaire that doesn't make any sense, well, you can be sure that you're not going to last very long in that business, because no one is ever going to come to you again, right? Because you have simply failed to understand the needs of the client. You also have to realize that you don't always have a lot of time. Again, like I said earlier, it's not like your personal research where you can take forever and come up with, take your sweet time. Here you might have, let's say days to come up with a particular thing, let's say questionnaires, and make changes in a very rapid manner. So in that case, how then do you proceed? So the backdrop is that it's not a topic you are familiar with. You have to still create a questionnaire that has sufficient depth and that addresses all of the issues that they are interested in. And of course, they're paying you top dollar to do the study. They can't exactly come and hold your hand. So how do you go about creating a questionnaire that addresses all the issues that patients care about and still do it on time? Well, one way you can do this is this is where AI comes in, right? So in this topic, for example, let's say I have this work to do, research on genital warts for this company. The first thing I will do is I want to hear the pure voice of the patients, like the pure challenges coming from the patient's mouth without anybody else translating. And this is where the research becomes a problem. A researcher chooses to create a questionnaire and to distill the question in their own thoughts, so that so if you do a literature review, the answers or the comments or whatever findings you're getting from the literature review have already been tainted by the original researcher's own perspective. If I'm doing work, I want to hear the unadulterated, the pure concerns from patients directly, right? Especially if it's a topic I don't have time to go out and do research extensively on. And this is where you'll find the value of blogs and forums extremely useful, right? So if let's say the topic is on genital warts, the first thing I'll do is go on forums, right? And see all these challenges, again, this is so beautiful because this is the users, I keep saying users, the patient's own challenges, like pure and, you know, unadulterated in their own freestyle that you can access, right? And so I want to get all of the challenges. So, and this is where you can really make use of AI, right? So one first step you can do is to take or go through as many blogs as you can, as many forums as you can, and you just put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, I need you to extract the key themes that are emerging from these challenges, right? And so these are the blogs. So in this case, for example, these are just pasting in as many blogs as possible. You want to make it as comprehensive as possible to cover all possible areas. So you know, and just paste and ChatGPT. These are the things that AI was born for. AI is good at these things, right? It will now summarize, to now say, all right, from all of these millions of texts you have put inside, here are the major things. So that is always, you know, a good place to start. You can, again, this doesn't replace the work of doing your literature review, but I personally prefer getting especially for formative research like this. Oh, I want to get the pure, unadulterated, unfiltered responses, concerns, and challenges from patients as expressed in blog. I would love to go and talk to them, but I don't have the time to do that. Given the short turnaround, well, the best place is getting it from blogs and forums directly from patients so that I get their concerns. So once I do that, I will take the information to a Word document, right? This is now the comments that ChatGPT has given me saying, oh, these are the challenges I have identified in the different areas, right? ChatGPT would easily put them into buckets for you, right? So these are the symptoms and concerns, emotional and psychological impact, and so on and so forth. Quite extensive. This is a very large document. This is, I mean, how many pages is this? This is 28 pages. Okay, not that much. But again, this saves me time because instead of me going, because I may just have a few days to do all of this. But with this approach, you can easily capture the full domain of what patients care about and what patients are finding most problematic. Because again, remember that you have to connect the dots. You have to link it with, what does this pharmaceutical company care about? Well, they care about the challenges that the patients are caring about. Because when they create their global value dossier, they should be able to say that, wow, these are concerns that actual patients face, and this is how our drug addresses those challenges, right? So this is one way you can go about it to make sure that you're getting research questions in a way that is fresh and, you know, that the perspectives are new. And one of the advantages you also get with this is that if you just do a literature review, you're just getting sound bites that have already been repeated over and over. This gives you an opportunity to get like completely fresh perspectives in a very new way that nobody has ever examined, because the whole point is to provide new perspectives in a way that capture the entire breadth of that topic. Now, this is where your work now starts. ChatGPT has now done its part for you. So you cannot rely on ChatGPT to now create the questions for you, right? Because the questions will not be framed in a way that is any logical, right? So the use of ChatGPT is great, but you have to realize that it's also limited to just identifying the major bucket areas. And you also do your due diligence by doing research in other areas to see maybe you have omitted other things. But this is where it starts. This is an easy way you could do it. And then you take all of those themes and you create your questionnaire, your final questionnaire that will be like this one, right? And that is one way you can do to make sure that you capture those areas in a manner that is comprehensive and also exhaustive. So that is one trick you can use. That's the proper use of AI. But again, remember that the final questions will have to be created by you. You have to sit down, and this might take you, this is where the real work starts. So you sit down, get a cup of coffee, go through all of those themes, digest them, and then you can then start creating your questions, knowing fully well that it's going to be very exhaustive. So once you've done all of that, you've created your questions, and you know, this is where a platform like Chisquares really comes into play. For those of you who use Google Forms, you cannot use Google Form for corporate research, right? Because it's not, the users' data are not secure. And there are a lot of things you can simply not do with a platform like Google Forms. You cannot implement logic. You cannot do a whole bunch of other things. So if you are serious about, if you're serious about serious research, then you really have to learn how to use a platform that can deliver all that you need to use for such research. So in this case here, I've created my questions, and these are my questions here that I have now incorporated into one document. And then the next thing will be for me to then import the questionnaire into the Chisquares platform. If you're going to import your questionnaires from a Microsoft Word document into the Chisquares platform, you need to format it. So let me just quickly walk through some of the formatting elements so you can realize what they are. So if in case you're doing it yourself, you know how to do it. The title has to start with T for title. The way we've done it is very intuitive. So we use letters that make sense. So T for title. The double @ sign is just to provide a unique set of characters that are different from what will appear in a regular text, right? So T for title, and then every single thing ends with 3 hashtags. Then you have section headers. It's always a good practice to divide your questionnaire into section headers so that the participants can understand the flow of information. They can say, okay, this starts from here. This section is about this topic. So in this questionnaire here, there are screener questions. The protocol for this study requires participants who are, let's see, let me look at the protocol again. If I have it here, I think I downloaded it. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Let's see whether this is okay. Great. So this is the protocol, right? So in most of this, and again, for success, one of the things you can do if you really want to be successful in the field is to learn the art of going above and beyond. What does that mean? In general, before you do contract research, you first of all submit a proposal. So you have to first of all be a preferred vendor. A preferred vendor is simply a company that supplies services to another company. Now, to make sure it's fair, they won't just select you and say, hey, Mr. XYZ, come and do the study for us. You have to bid. And so they'll say, all of our preferred vendors, we are interested in doing the study. Can you send us a proposal? So you have to submit a proposal first and send it to the company, right? And then they're going to review. So in that proposal, you're going to talk about how the study is going to be conducted and the sampling and the study design and the sample size and how they're going to be collected and how you're going to recruit people and the analytic strategy and all of those things. They all have to be provided in that proposal, right? And so in this case, for example, we have, these are the countries that we're interested in, and these are the sample sizes we need to capture, and these are the dates and all of those things. But again, remember that all of those things you do not have from the timeline where you have so in this case, for example, we have 6 days. You have 1 week from the time you are asked to submit the proposal to when they want to make a decision. So now, here is how you can really optimize your chances of really being hired for the work. Most companies will just say, hey, here's a proposal, and that's it. One way you can easily do that is to say, here's a proposal. Oh, and by the way, we've already created a draft version of the questionnaire, right? Just to provide you an insight of how we want to approach it. I mean, 99% of companies will not do that. They'll say, well, when you approve the proposal and give us the work, we will then create a questionnaire for you. But, with the approach I showed you, it's going to take you just, maybe a day to create the whole questionnaire. And that just makes you look really, really good. It just shows that you are really competent. And if you do that, that exponentially just increases your likelihood of winning, you know, major contracts. So again, you don't have a whole lot of time. 6 days is how much time you have if you are going to go with this approach. So you want to make sure that you still submit something that is good. It's better not for you to submit anything than to submit work that is horrible. They're like, oh gosh, you are really horrible, right? So make sure if you're going to go that route, you do something that makes sense and that is worth reviewing, right? So you submit your protocol, you submit all of that, and you submit your preliminary budget too. For those of you who might be curious, you might divide your work into different phases. So in this project, for example, we divided into 2 phases. The first phase where we would just design the study, and then the second phase where we would actually conduct the study. We typically divide that into different phases or different activities and price for different things. So you have a management fee, you have a fee for questionnaire development, you have a fee for translation, for cognitive testing, for coding of a questionnaire, for protocol development, for development of a statistical analysis plan, for IRB, and every single thing. And so those are the different elements that may be involved in that. But bottom line is that you want to create a questionnaire that is solid. It is better not for you to send any questionnaire than to send a questionnaire that is just horrible, you know, because you just shot yourself in the foot. All right, so now that I have again, this is where platform like Chisquares comes in very handy. I am the biggest user of Chisquares platform because I use it directly in corporate research. And so with Chisquares, it completely eliminates the need for you to rely on so many other people. As you can be literally a one-man army and do every single thing that you need to do just by yourself, because the platform literally just takes away all of that from you. So let's go ahead and create that questionnaire that we just showed. And let's make sure that it abides with the study's inclusion criteria, because what I will then do is send the company a copy of the questionnaire as PDF, but also share with them a link to the survey so that this is what it means to create a wow factor, right? They're like, wow, in just 6 days, you did all of this. You are the person we need to go with, you know. So that is the kind of reaction you really want to elicit from clients, that a clear show of competence and just quality of work. So let's go ahead and import our questionnaire, and then we'll format it according to the study's inclusion criteria. In this case, the inclusion criteria essentially are individuals who are 18 years or older. Let me see where that is. Individuals who are 18 years or older and who are from these countries, right? So let's go ahead and do that, and then let's set it up and show how we can do that. So I'll go to the Chisquares platform now and create a survey and then import it. So let's go ahead. So the Chisquares platform, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's literally a one-stop shop. If you are doing any corporate research or you have any interest in ever doing that, well, the Chisquares platform you really need to know how to use it inside out, because every single thing you need to do is supported by the platform. So let's go ahead and set up such a survey. So to start a new survey, you come here, start new survey. This page here is simply telling you that the platform supports both cross-sectional and longitudinal studies. So I'll get started. Next, we'll provide the title of the survey. So this is here, I'll just copy. What is this? I'll just copy and paste this here. Let's call this so life quality and unmet needs survey. The location of study participants is in 12 countries. I don't need to select all 12, so I'm just going to leave that blank for now. The primary aims. Every study has aims. So here we're just going to generate with AI so that we can just populate that field with the aims. And again, this is also one, the Chisquares platform makes you look very good with your clients, because it really just eliminates the time it takes for you to do things. imagine the requirement to, for example, do preliminary analysis and send reports. Those are things you can do literally in seconds, right? And so it just improves the quality of the quality of your life as a vendor and the speed with which you can deliver on things. So here, let's go. I will just go ahead and select some aims. You can edit any aim you select, so it's not as if it's fixed in stone. And you can clear the remaining ones away. Keywords, again, I can generate with AI and select as many as I want and clear the remaining ones away. The Chisquares platform is also affiliated with an ethical review board. So again, a study like this, we would need ethical review for sure. And so you can submit for ethical approval directly from the platform. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to skip that for now and create a new project. So this is how you set up a project. You can invite collaborators. When working with clients, it's great to invite them as collaborators so that you don't have to be you don't have to be updating them every single day. Oh, this is the number of people who have recruited, because just providing updates becomes like a full-time job of itself, right? So it's always a great thing to just say, okay, I'm just going to invite you to the project as a collaborator, and you can update, you can see what's happening in real time, and that also adds a layer of transparency as well. So you put the name of the individual there. So let's say I'm just going to put my email here, for example, and you assign a role. So in this case, co-lead or project owner, whatever the role is. If you have teammates or members of your team, you can also add them as collaborators on your work. So once you save that, that sends them an email to invite them to the project. So I have my survey set up now. Now I just need to choose questions, and there are 6 ways to do that. You can start from a blank survey. You can copy a survey that exists. You can import from a survey bank. You can import from Word. In this case, I want to import from the Word document since I've already created my questionnaire outside. So I click on that. I can choose a file and think this is my file here. And I can upload that file. And if you wanted, you could have just created the questions on the platform. But in this case, I just chose to import since I had already created the questions outside. Now, there are some flags because there are drop-down menu questions which we need to make sure that they're all fine. So we have to address the flags. So I will click here to edit the question and address the flag. So in this one says, in which country do you live? As you can see, there are no response options. And that's because in the original questionnaire, in which country do you live? There were no response options. It was just a question. So that's why the platform flagged it, because it did not see any response option. It saw a question, but no answers. And so it flagged it. So I will now go ahead and add all the countries of the world. Obviously, I don't want to sit down here typing, United States one by one. So I can come to this button at the bottom here, explore, and select countries of the world and apply. So if I look at the eye icon, which is a preview, I can then see in which country do you live, and all the countries of the world have been populated. And I can then update that question. Oops, I didn't. Let's mark that as resolved. Let's check that box that says mark as resolved. And then next one, let's address this one too. So how old were you on December 31st of last year? Please round your answer to nearest whole number. So we have to provide age. So again, the question did not have answers. The question was just a question without answers. And that's why the platform flagged it, because that is not fine. You need to have answers. So we need to add answers. Now, again, how old? Well, we can add age categories, but it's always better to provide discrete answers where you can, because you can recategorize that any way you want later on. So let's come to explore here again. This time we won't go to countries of the world as we did earlier. We'll go to lower and upper limit, because we want to supply a lower limit for age and an upper limit for age, and then the platform should automatically fill the values in between for us. So let's apply that. Our lower limit, let's put 0 years. Our upper limit, let's put 200 years, just in case somebody's, that old. And then we'll mark as resolved. If you look at the eye icon here, how old were you on December 31st? Please round your nearest answer to your answer to the nearest whole year. And those are the answers that we have. So people can then select their age in years, and we can update that question. So we have, and then we have this other question here, which is a drop-down menu, but again, it doesn't have an answer. So we need to edit that and add an answer. When were you diagnosed with genital warts? If you're not sure, please provide your best guess. Again, we have to provide an answer. We don't want to sit down here typing all the years, like 2001 and 2002. So that doesn't make any sense. So let's again go to explore. Let's go to explore, and we'll select again lower and upper limits. Let's apply. We want maybe 1900 to the year 2024. So if you look at the eye icon, when were you diagnosed? Again, we have all the years. They can select the year they want, and we can update the question. All right. Let me make sure we don't have any other question that has a flag. All right, awesome. So now we need to, the one thing missing now is we need to put subheaders. So remember in our question here, we had subheaders. The subheaders are not read in as a subheader, so we need to make it ourselves. They are read in as custom prompts. Custom prompts on the Chisquares platform are just pieces of information, but they appear on a separate page themselves. So for example, if you have previewed this, for example, you'll see that section 1, screener questions, but that's not how I want this to appear. Plus, I don't want this script to appear. I want this question to look exactly like this, where question 1 carried the section header on top of it. So for me to do that, I have to change this item type from a custom prompt, which is presented on a separate screen, to a question header, which is on the head of a question. So that's what I need to do. So I need to edit this and change it from a custom prompt to a header. So I'll change this to section header, and I can put this here instead of script 1, section 1, which has screener questions. And let me add this header to the first question, which was, in what country do you live? So let me confirm that and update the prompt. So now if I did my preview, you'll see that it looks different now. So section 1. So now, in which country do you live? That section has been added on top of that question now, as opposed to it being on a separate page of its own. So I need to do that for all the other. So this is script 2. I believe I had 4 section headers. So again, change the value from a custom prompt to a section header. And I'm just going to copy this. I don't want it shown as script 2. This is section 2. And knowledge and behavioral indicators. This was in front of, let's see the question. It was in front of a question that says, have you ever heard of HPV? So I'm going to add this to the question, have you ever heard of HPV? So select that, confirm, and update it. So now it's going to be on top of that question. So let's do that for the next one too. This is section 3. So again, the major advantage of a Chisquares platform, if you are involved in the business of research, is that these are things that you can just do so seamlessly and so easily, and just go ahead and just, it really elevates the quality of work you can do and the amount of work you can do, especially if you're just a one-man business, if you just have a small team. It really elevates the kind of work you can do and the quality of the work as well. So let's go ahead and do this third script. We edit that and we put this. So please, if you do not send a client survey with the Google form. I shouldn't have to emphasize that, but I'm just going to say that because in case it's not very obvious to all of us, that is completely unacceptable. Because it's not a platform that is designed for research. And so section header, and this one is in front of the question, how often do you experience the following symptoms? All right, this is the question, confirm, and we'll update it. And we have one last header. Okay, section 4, treatment utilization. So again, I'm going to edit that. This is section 4. Change from custom prompt to section header and link it to which of the following types of medication have you ever taken? See. Maybe I've not passed it. You can also search for it, but I just want to shouldn't be. I thought I understood. Let's see. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna go one last round if I can find it. I'm just gonna abandon that project and we'll go on to the next thing. Aha, found it. Which are following types of medication? Confirm. And we can update that prompt. And I think I saw one last one, section 5. By the way, this questionnaires tend to be long. This is because the company wants to address every single thing, and they need to cap. These are expensive studies, so you can imagine why they want to have as much information captured as possible. Then the last section is section 5, treatment challenges and outlook. All right, so the question is, with your current treatment, do you have any of the following constraints? So this is section 5. And we're going to change this to a section header. And we're going to link it to, let me start from the bottom. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna paste it on any question here. Yeah, let's. All right, I'm just going to add it to this question just for the sake of demonstration. All right, so now we've updated all our prompts. Now what we need to do is to make sure you obviously don't want to send the question without the appropriate logic with clients. That makes no sense. So you want to make sure that the study inclusion criteria, because remember, you are trying to demonstrate that you have the competency, the technical competency to do the work, right? So what you send them has to be reflective of what they need. In this case, we want to make sure that this study has, at least the inclusion criteria, people who are from any of these countries and are aged 18 years or older. So let's do that. Let's come here to logic and let's set the logic for survey. But before that, let's quickly add our consent form. We need to have a consent form because this is, you need to address issues of ethics. This is for adults, so we're going to just generate a default consent form and submit the informed consent. So now our study has informed consent. Now let's go ahead and add the logic. So what we need is inclusion criteria. So we'll select that. I will select the variables that make up the inclusion criteria for the study, which is country you live in and your age. Let's select those two. So in which country? If you live in any of the following countries, if country contains any of the following, you are eligible. And where are the countries? The United States. So we'll search for United States. If you live in China, if you live in Japan, if you live in Germany, UK, Brazil, Germany, United Kingdom, Brazil, and then let's see. Then Canada, Spain, Italy, France, Canada, Spain, Italy, France, and then Argentina and Mexico. So if you live in any of these countries, and if your age is greater than or equal to or just simply greater than 17 years old, then you are eligible for the study. So submit that. This is telling us that at the beginning of a survey, the platform will tell people that, well, we appreciate your interest, but just know that there are screener questions. You can edit this text if you want. If you want to keep it that way, you can save. And if you don't even want to include that message at all, you can skip it. I'll just accept what is there. This is the platform saying that we're going to show this message to people at the beginning and tell them, for people who are not eligible, that after we've assessed their eligibility, if they're not eligible, we'll tell them, thank you for your interest in participating, but you're currently ineligible due to the criteria. Again, you can edit this to whatever you want. If you don't want this message to even show, you can skip it, but I want to just accept the way it is and include it. And then for those who are eligible, it's going to tell them you have met the criteria and so on and so forth. Again, I'm going to save and include. And that's how you set up the inclusion criteria for your study. Now, there are other items there like skip patterns in the survey and all of that. We won't go through all of those. That was just to show you a quick demo. But again, the same principle applies. You can use the logic and implement skip patterns. So we've set inclusion criteria. That's why it shows as set. But again, there are all manner of things. There's nothing you want to do as far as the complex survey is concerned that you won't be able to do it on the Chisquares platform. You can also translate your survey into all the languages required, and so let's go ahead and set the study timeline. And let's do a quick demo of how you can also just wow your clients. So let's set our timeline for today, and let's say it's going to end in 2025, for example. And let's save the settings. And let's just go ahead and before you launch a survey, it's always a good idea. You don't want surprises. Don't just assume that what you did worked. You should always have a healthy sense of paranoia that whatever you did does not work. That's, you know, you can't be paranoid enough, right? That things did not work. So always review your survey. The preview is just to show you how the survey will look like when participants take it. And again, this is where you download the questionnaire. So if I want to share with them a questionnaire, like you should, you just come to view only PDF questionnaire and you download it, select the language. In this case, we only have English, and continue to download. That takes the questionnaire, downloads it, and then you can then share it with the members of the team. I'm just going to, for the sake of time. And so let's always, again, the moral of the story is always preview your survey to just see how it looks like. So start, this is the consent form. Sure, that's great, it's looking good. I accept. This is the part of a question showing that it's screeners. If the survey was, if we had translated our survey into many languages, the user will be able to select the language they want from here and take it. Next, this is the screener. In what country do you live? Let's say that we live in Afghanistan and that we were age 4 years old. Based on the conditions we've selected, it means we are not eligible. Now let's test now for eligibility based on the appropriate criteria. So this the download has finished. So preview. So this time around, let's say that we are from the United States and that we are aged over 50 years old, over 18 years old, which was the inclusion criteria. Now we're told you are eligible to participate because that was what we had indicated as a criteria, right? And then the participants can continue taking the questionnaires as they need, right? And so let's launch our survey now, and let's collect some responses to see how the platform allows you to process that. So let me share this with you. And to share your survey, you would click here. If you have emails, you would upload the emails here. Otherwise, you can share a link with the participants, and so they can take that. So I'm just going to copy the link and share with you guys for those who want to take it. So let's drop the link there. So you can take the survey and let's see how you could, for those who have not used the platform, just show you some other elements of navigating the platform. It's a long questionnaire, by the way. So, but here, once you launch your survey, you can do a lot of things. You can download the methodology report. The methodology report is simply a report of how the study was conducted. So to download the methodology report, you simply click here that says download methodology report, in which case the platform takes the metadata for the study and writes up a report for you in terms of how the study was conducted. So that has been done. Let's look at how the report looks like. So view to download, just download the report. So this is the methodology report. Life quality and unmet needs survey. This is the entire report, the metadata about the study, the survey ID. This is the type of report, so the keywords. It writes up the background and context for it. It talks about the study design. This was a cross-sectional study, and talks about the planned dates for data collection. Study participants in total, partial or complete responses were captured from one individual. So far, we only have one person who responded. And it talks about where that individual came from. And other elements that are needed, study limitations, all of those things are provided as part of a study report. You can also get a report of the analysis. So if you want to, for example, have oh, that added up quite fast. If you wanted to get like the analysis, this saves you time because you don't have to now pick the data set and start analyzing it manually. Of course, you can do that if you wanted. You can download the data here. The platform also cleans your data automatically. So you can choose to download the raw data sets or to download the clean data set because it's automatically cleaned. Either way, you're fine. You can also download the analysis report, in which case you can specify whether you want the analysis done for the whole population or for a subset of a population. If I want for a subset of a population, let's say I only want data analyzed for people from the United States, I can say set up subsets and select analyze based on country. And I want the analysis done only among people in the United States. And then I can then submit that. And so the analysis will be only among that population. But if I want to analyze, among the whole population, then I can choose download reports. Oops. I clicked on that codebook report, so it's busy downloading the codebook. But anyway, I wanted analysis report, and I want for the whole population. So in which case, it will then take the data, analyze for that population, and then display the result accordingly. Okay, I think that covers, sorry, that was a code book. Let me see. Okay, oh, all of them already. Let's look at the analysis report. So Lungile, do we have any questions as of yet?
Not yet. Only the ones that were posted earlier.
Okay. All right. So
someone asked how to create the type of question, but which type of question, Doris?
So the type of question, if you wanted to create it offline, the different question types, and that's what I was trying to show earlier, that the different question types have, so let me show you a quick look at some of this. So if I wanted a drop-down menu, then I have to put at Q and then exclamation mark. Exclamation mark says, that's like, it kind of looks like a drop-down, doesn't it? So like, that's the way the platform knows that it's a drop-down menu. So you have to put, if you don't put the drop-down menu here, you will just take it as an MCQ. So an MCQ is a default question type. But if you want to modify the question type, you have to add special characters to it. So if I put a drop-down menu, a drop-down icon in front, that tells the question, the platform that that's a drop-down menu question. Then this one doesn't have any icon in front, so this is an MCQ. This one has a plus in front of it. So plus meaning that there are multiple answers. So it's not just an MCQ, which is only one answer, but just adding plus in front of it tells you that now the user can select multiple answers. So that's how you do it. And then this is also plus. This tells me that that's a multiple choice, multiple response question. This is a drop down. So this tells me that that's a drop down menu question, and so on and so forth. So that's how, and that information is already accessible on how to do that. When you are trying to upload a questionnaire, there is a manual that shows you how to format it. So if you're, let me pause the survey. So if you attempt to upload from Word, you can see download instructions. And you can also download a sample questionnaire that explains in detail how you can go around it. All right, any other questions?
Prof, because there are new people, can you just quickly, just briefly, just show what else they can do on the platform?
Okay, sure.
They didn't ask, I'm just asking.
All right, so you can translate your survey into many number of languages. So this icon here, the language icon, you can add a language. There are many ways to translate. You can use full AI translation, which means that you just select the question and select the language, and it will automatically translate everything for you without you touching anything. It's the quality of a translation by AI will obviously depend on the kind of language that is involved. If it's a language that has a lot of material on it, the quality might be good. If it's not, then it might not be so good. The template translation is you download the templates. Let's say I want to translate into Afrikaans. I click here to download the template. That template is created in the likeness of the questionnaire. And so all I have to do is to come to this field. So here I have the source text. Text to be translated on one column. And on the next column, I have the translated text. So I'm going to translate all the things I need here. And when I'm done, I will come back to the platform and upload that template that I have just translated into. And the platform will automatically upload the language into the system. The third option to translate is the manual translation with the web form. This case too, you select the language you want. It loads the survey, and then you can manually translate, but with some assistance from AI should you require that as well. This is a very large survey, so it takes a few seconds to load. Okay, it's finished. So to translate, I just type whatever text I want here, or I can click on the AI icon here, and it will take the text here and then translate it here for me. And so that's how you add languages to your survey. For a survey like this, if you're doing a professional survey, you want to get experts to translate it for you, right? You don't want to, this are the highest, the stakes are very high in this kind of context. So don't use AI translation. Go and get a professional translator to translate the text for you. Don't rely on your knowledge of the language either, because just do things professionally. So in that case, you can share that template with the translator, and then when they are done, you just simply upload it into the platform. So that's how you would do it here. So that's how you add languages to the survey. You can check if you want to do a survey that is longitudinal, you can change that in the settings. So right now it's a cross-sectional studies, set up as a cross-sectional studies. But a good number of studies we do in corporate research or commercial research is longitudinal, where you have to follow people over time. And obviously, if you're a small team, you don't want to be doing it manually, where you are chasing people around the world. I mean, you can't even do that, right? It's not very feasible. So you set the study from cross-sectional to longitudinal. You set the number of follow-ups you want. So here it says, how many follow-ups do you want, excluding the baseline? So let's say it's a longitudinal study over a 2-year period where you're going to follow people 6 months apart. That means that you have three follow-ups. Three follow-ups. And the interval between follow-ups is 6 months, right? So the platform knows that if we start the survey today, the closeout date will be 2026. And so in this case, the survey has been now updated to a longitudinal. So it was originally cross-sectional, but now it's longitudinal. If people take the survey, when it gets to the end, the platform will tell them, hey, we have a follow-up coming. Do you want to participate? If they say yes, then the platform will take their email, and then in 6 months, it will follow up with them automatically so that you don't have to do that yourself. So that is one of the things you can do. Of course, as you can imagine, in commercial research, we have to offer incentives. And you can do that from a platform as well. So essentially, the Chisquares platform allows you to do every single thing that you need to do for contract research or business research just on one single platform. So if you have to pay people incentives, you can come here and set up the incentives. So let's say that every participant is going to get $20 for participation. You come here, you say, okay, I'm going to set up my incentives as incentive payout for everyone. The number of participants that let's say I have 2,000 participants, and each of them is going to get $20. So this is a longitudinal study. So the platform is asking you, who and when should we pay? Well, you've already said that this is incentive payout for everyone. But remember that your survey is longitudinal. So the options are pay everyone at baseline, pay baseline participants who sign up for follow-up. So in this case, what this means is that when they finish taking the survey, the platform will tell them, we have a follow-up coming. Will you want to participate? If you agree and give us your email, we'll give you $20. So in this case, only people who agree to be signed up for follow-up are eligible to get paid incentive. Or everyone at follow-up is eligible. So in that case, when the participants finish this baseline survey, they'll be told that we have a follow-up coming. If you agree to participate in the follow-up, we'll pay you $20 at follow-up. Right, that's what that means. And then the last one is repeated eligibility at each wave for all participants. So in this one, for every single wave, you're paying them $20. So there are extensive options provided so that you can pick what you want, what you are able to pay. Now, if you don't have money to pay incentive for everyone, you can also choose to have a raffle draw. Let's say you only have $20, that you want to offer that $20 to increase incentives. You can still do that. So you can say, how many people do you want to participate who are eligible to participate in your survey? 2,000. How many raffle draws do you have? One raffle draw for $20. And this raffle draw is just at baseline, right? So all you just wanted to do was to tell people that, well, you can be entered into a raffle draw for $20. If you're lucky, you can win it. So you just want to increase the response rate. Once you set up incentives, the platform automatically disburses the incentives. If somebody is eligible, then they get a gift card for the amount you have specified, right, in their email, and then they can redeem that and use that to do whatever they want. And then you can track the disbursement of that. So it's not like a black hole where you're wondering, geez, what happened to my money? You can track every time somebody receives the incentives, that is going to be recorded here, so you can track that as well. You can set reminders. So if you're doing a survey, you want the platform to automatically, for example, remind people who have not participated. That is, if you uploaded an email, right? If you had, let's say, 1,000 emails uploaded, the platform can automatically send reminders on your behalf at whatever settings you provided. And then you can also manage appearance. You can add logo to your survey and so on. And then you have other tools that are for other activities beyond survey design. You can have sampling. Sampling allows you to draw a representative sample for any country of interest. So let's say I'm doing a survey in the United States and I want to draw a nationally representative sample. I can say, okay, I want to draw a representative sample for the United States. It's going to be nationally representative, so I don't have to select any of those. I want to sample, let's say, 50 counties, and my sample size is 2,000 people. So the question is, I want to select 2,000 people nationally. How do I do that? The platform would automatically apply probability theory and help you select individuals in a way that is nationally representative. So here, I have the US map here, and even just by looking, you don't have to be a statistician to see that this covers the country in ways that are representative, right? And so this allows you to be able to draw samples, in seconds, without having to go and worry about hiring a statistician or a survey methodologist. You can calculate sample size on the platform for any kind of epidemiologic study. So if let's say you're doing a cross-sectional survey, the platform allows you to provide the parameters. It also guides you by providing you with hints, so you can know what each parameter means. And once you click on Get Results, it does the calculation and tells you what the number is. You also have the opportunity to get references on the formula that was used for the calculation. The survey bank is a repository of thousands of questions across different areas. So if you want to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's the point. You can use questions that have already been created. And then the AI toolkit allows you to be able to do proposals. Imagine if you want to do a proposal and submit for a contract. You don't have to spend if you have just days, it's better for you to have a rough draft of that proposal, then you can edit it. This is still a beta product. This is still in development that we just share with the community so that you can play with it while we still build it. But the idea is you provide the title of the project and the idea, and it's going to develop a proposal which you can then edit for your work. So those are some of the highlights of the Chisquares platform. The idea is that it's a one-stop shop where you can do all manner of research, or all tasks that are related to data collection. All right, any other questions?
Please do raise your hand. Okay, Mohammed Usman.
Thank you very much, my prof. Well done. We have really enjoyed your presentation, sir. And so I have some few questions to ask, please.
Sure.
Hello, sir. Okay.
Hey, very clear.
Sir, yes, there is a call for a research proposal, which is a grant in collaboration between European Union and the African Union. So actually, it's not in the area of medicine; it's the area of teacher education, sir. So, but they are requesting that for you to be eligible, you must have at least one collaborator from any European countries, either in public or in private institutions. So the problem is I don't have linkage with any person whom I think we can be able to work with. So that's my first question. How can I use this Chi-Square platform to be able to link up with a potential collaborator on that? Then secondly, there is also issue of this grant proposal. So you see, they are working in pound sterling, and they have given the budget that this is the minimum and this is the maximum budget. So how can I customize it in the Chi-Square so that the Chi-Square will work it in what do you call it, in pound sterling, not in naira? Then secondly, the third question is on the issue of also how do I work with the AI tool to create this kind of proposal, even though I don't have the collaborator. Must I have the collaborator first before I can create the proposal, or can I create the proposal first before identifying the collaborator so that later we can share it with him? So I think these are some of the few questions, only 3 questions I have. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, so the last question is, no, you don't have to get a collaborator first. You create a proposal first, and it doesn't make sense just reaching out to proposal when you have a collaborator, when you have not done anything. It casts the appearance that you're somehow unserious, right? So you have to do your part first, do your due diligence, get the proposal in shape, and then you reach out to them and say, hey, we have a project coming on and we would like to work with you, right? So that answers that. For the collaborators on how you can get them on the Chisquares platform, that again, like I said, this is in beta mode. We have a AI collaboration connector that would connect you with people anywhere in the world. But that's like I said, this is in beta mode. There are features we're working on, but we're going to release that pretty soon. But in the meantime, you can use LinkedIn. You can go on LinkedIn and search for people based on region and say, hey, I noticed you do a lot of work in this area. I would love to collaborate with you on so and so work, right? So that's an option for you. Then the third question about currency. Well, you can do that. The Chisquares platform reports the estimated budget in the US dollars. But you can easily convert that to any other currency you want. And take note that the proposal as built on the platform is not meant to be the final version. It's just meant to give you something to start with. So you have to do your job as the researcher to take it and then build that. But again, like I said, we're doing a lot of changes on this. The final proposal will be much different from what I'm seeing here. But until then,
Okay.
let's use it and share your feedback as necessary. But knowing fully well that when we release the final version, it's going to be radically different from what you have now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Joy Obadoba. You can't unmute. Joy, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for the information. My question is, so on, like we have on the Kobo Collect tool, the ODK, when we collect data, sometimes we need to collect some pictures and take georeference information of certain locations while collecting the data or administering questionnaire. So is it possible to have, or can Chisquares also provide that alternative where we can have pictures from the field that can be incorporated into the survey for further analysis? Thank you.
Yes. So the platform allows you to take pictures. So you can. There's a multimedia question that allows you to take pictures of video or audio and incorporate that in your survey. We are also working on the address question type that will capture geocoordinates. Either by just simply typing the address, it automatically captures the longitudes and latitudes, which gives you the geospatial location. Or you can also have access to a map that you click on that area and it will harvest the longitude and latitudes. That's also one of the things that are currently in beta that we're going to release very shortly.
Thanks, Prof. Someone asked can those in the management sciences use Chisquares?
Everybody can use Chisquares.
Both the cross-sectional and longitudinal are not highlighted to enable one to click on it. Can you take us to the process to enable that?
Okay, so so when you and I understand why you're confused at the beginning, and we're releasing version 2 of the Chisquares platform that will be completely different from what you see here. So all of those issues will be addressed. But in the meantime, with this one, to change the longitudinal to cross-sectional or vice versa, you can either click on view here, this option here, or you come to this icon that says settings. So if you click here, you come to manage study because you want to manage the study. And the survey type, the default is cross-sectional. So if you want to change it from longitudinal to where it is now to cross-sectional, you simply select that. If you want to change it from cross-sectional to longitudinal, you select, and then you have to provide this other parameter. So again, you come from settings, or you click on view and edit the timeline. And so it will automatically take effect from there.
Please, I need more clarification on the use of logic in the upload of the Microsoft Word. For example, multiple questions, multiple answers, and drop down.
So the best way to learn this is to practice. So what you could do is you could take the questionnaires here. So pretend you're importing from Word, download the instructions, and download a sample questionnaire and read them side by side. It's extremely self-explanatory. So if you download, for example, the sample questionnaire, you really literally cannot miss it. It's the instructions are that detailed. So this is, for example, the sample questionnaire. It says, this is the title. It must start with 2 @ followed by an upper letter T. You can't miss it. And we've highlighted it in color. So what you could do is to just follow, just take the questionnaire and just go through it, and you'll get full clarification on what you need to do.
Thank you. Kwada. Kwada Chagwa.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I've been attending this Chi-Square class for quite a long time, but today I feel like asking questions. I'm a veterinary doctor, so I don't know. Can I use Chi-Square in analyzing some of our data in the sense that animals slaughtered in the abattoir, animals treated in the clinic, veterinary clinic and hospitals. Then maybe those people that are in the revenue section, can they use the Chi-Square to analyze maybe some of the revenue being collected from animals being traded in the market? And even, number of animals that we have, that's animal census. Can we use Chi-Square to assess all this data in order to make meaning out of it? That's the question that I have. Thank you,
Okay.
Prof.
Are you talking about the collection of data or analysis of data or both?
Both collection of data and the analysis.
Okay.
Both of them.
So the answer is yes. So let's start with the collection of data. So if you're collecting data from, let's say, animals, obviously the animals are not the ones talking. They're going to examine them and capture some indicator in the survey. So you are the one who is administering the survey. So in that case, what you need to do is to come to settings and come to this button that says multiple entries. The instruction here says enable button at the end of a survey to allow multiple submissions, e.g. for interviewer administered surveys or when collecting data from non-human subjects like plants or animals. You say yes. So what that does is that at the end of a survey, when the user has finished taking the survey, when you finish entering data for one animal, it will now allow you to click to submit another, and you can do that over and over. The setup of a survey will be exactly the same thing, but instead of saying in which country do you live, the question might be, for example, the height of the animal or the weight of the animal, and you are the one providing the responses to each of the questions. And that's how you can collect the data. For the analysis, now let's assume that you already have a data set that you wish to analyze. That's what the full ecosystem we're releasing in the next few months will do. It will allow you to upload any data sets and do any kind of analysis, whether it's just descriptive analysis or whether it's regression. You'll be able to do all of those in the next next few months when we release the full ecosystem. So I think that answers your questions.
Thank you. Pelumi.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm more enlightened. Thank you.
Pelumi Fasulu. Your hand is up. All right, Prof. Is the Chi-Squares platform ready to use now, and is it sustainable?
Good evening, Prof. Good evening. This is Pelumi. Can I go on, sir?
Sure.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Yes, so my question is as regards data validity and data protection. So the first question is as regards data collection. Usually in the regular traditional research, you have to do a pilot study where you come up with a form of internal reliability and validity. So my question is, does this platform, can it provide such solutions? Like, does it provide codebooks analysis? And second question is as regards data storage and protection. This platform, how is it any better than other servers like Google server, for data storage? Thank you.
Right. So for the first question, if you're doing a pilot survey, you would come to the settings and you would come to the question here, which says, is this the main survey or the pilot survey? you would set it accordingly to pilot if it's a pilot survey, right? So in this case, it's a main survey. Obviously, if you started a main survey already, you can't go back to pilot mode. That's why it says here you cannot run pilot survey after launching the main survey. But at the very beginning, you can choose to set this to the main survey or the pilot survey, and that should address that. Issues of other analysis that you have to do after that collection are up to you as the investigator, right? That an unlimited number of analysis that one could possibly do or theoretically do, those are things that you as an investigator then have to take your data that you've collected, whether it's the main survey or the pilot data, and then choose how you want to do it. So regarding the second question, which was the issue of data security, the Chisquares platform meets HIPAA requirements for data security, and so data are encrypted, addressed in motion and use, to make sure that individuals' data are secured, and so that meets and exceeds HIPAA standards. As regards what other platforms do, well, you might, I don't speak for other platforms, so I can't speak for them, but we have criteria or standards that we need to meet to protect protected health information, and we comply with all of those. Now, for individuals who wish to collect data on their own servers, like some institutions might want to collect data on their private servers, we also allow them, we work with them to set that up as well.
Thanks, Prof. Okay, I think I just have two. Ngozi.
I thought you asked a question. You read a question earlier.
Yes, sorry, Prof. Yes, how is the Chisquares platform accessible, and how sustainable is it?
Yes, it's accessible. Obviously, we're using it for studies. How sustainable? I'm not sure I understand what sustainability means. I'm not sure what you're referring to, environmental sustainability, or I don't have the context. But if you're referring to, and maybe you're referring to economic sustainability. I'm not sure whether you're referring to it from our perspective or your perspective. If it's your perspective, I don't know. That's a question that you have to answer. So I don't, without more context, I can't answer that question.
I think it's more about trust. Is it trustworthy?
So again, that's a question that it's a question that has to be answered by you. I mean, it's the platform obviously is built to be robust and to meet standards for researchers. The Chisquares platform is a platform built by researchers, right? And so obviously the attention to which we pay to issues of data quality and data security and issues of bias will be heaven and earth different, right? From a platform built by some guy who dropped out from college, but is super smart. And so we pay the extreme amount of attention to issues of bias in research and how those could be mitigated in terms of engineering, how the way we engineer products and how that addresses issues of bias in large and small ways. And so these sessions are not by any means a commercial sessions where we are trying to, of course, we encourage people to use the platform, but at the end of the day, I think it's up to individuals to determine which platform they feel they prefer using for research. I think that's a very entirely personal decision that people will just have to make. The goal of these sessions really is to focus on how do we address issues of methodology. And of course, we use the Chisquares platform because that's what we built. But issues of use, that's your personal decision that you'll have to make.
Thank you.
That question.
Can the Chisquares platform be used for academic research?
Yes, that's what it was built for.
Isn't it?
Or maybe is there something I'm missing from that question? Like, is there?
No.
Okay, all right.
No,
Yes.
remember you were talking about contract research organizations. So I think people might have been lost.
Okay.
Has the data been shared by Prof? Data? Prof, you showed us data earlier on. People are asking for it.
Yeah, we'll share that in the email later.
Okay. If multiple data collectors are employed at fields in a particular survey, can they merge their data if collected individually? Is there a plan to enable Chisquares AI toolkit to be able to assist in systematic review?
Okay, those are two separate questions, I guess. One is a question of you have multiple people collecting data on multiple sites. As far as the same survey, the data automatically merge into the same database. So you don't have to now manually merge it. So that also applies to offline data. You could have people collecting data. As far as the same survey you've set up, it doesn't matter where they are. Once they get back to where there's internet, the data are all uploaded to the same database. So you don't have to do that manually. The second question about whether the Chisquares platform will be in the future used for meta-analysis. Yes, that's something we're working on. It's a work in progress.
Thank you. How can we establish the validity and reliability of our instruments using the Chisquares platform?
You can use questions from a survey bank, which have already been validated already. Regarding your personal instrument, validation of questionnaires or instruments is an inherently human activity. It's not something that you just hand over to a machine or an AI system to do for you. So it has to be based on thorough knowledge of research and issues of bias and measurement errors. And so it's something that you, the investigator, has to do. So again, this is one of the things that we have to carefully factor in when engineering the platform. There are an infinite number of things that we could possibly build, but we have to decide, no, that is something that should not be built because it's something that human beings must do by themselves. So again, that's one of the considerations we take, right? So not everything that can be automated should be automated because again, it's a research platform. So we need to also make that distinction between things that are inherently human tasks from things that should be automated and can be automated.
Thank you. I tried looking for forums in my Google and can't find. How can I get it?
You just try harder. I don't know the topic you're looking at, so I cannot comment on that.
How do I relate Chisquares to experimental research and not questionnaires?
Experimental research, you still have to collect data, won't you? Experiment simply means that you randomize people to treatment, but you still need to collect the data from them. Otherwise, it's not a research at that point. The research must involve data collection. And so I don't know what kind of experiment you're doing. There are experiments that you can do online. You can also integrate in your survey, you can also integrate a research component. So for example, I can choose to select a group allocation question. Like Chisquares platform has a randomized trial question here, where participants are randomized to an online media, like different media. So if I click here, for example, I can choose to say, all right, I want to have a sliding scale and I want to randomize people to different kind of media. So I can choose and select the kind of media I want to upload. And let me see if I can find something. Let's see. All right, let's see. Good. I have some images here. So let's say I want to randomize people to these 4 images. I upload them and upload the files. So these are 4 different media. Let's say I'm doing communication research. And my research question is, how does cigarette packaging influence the risk perception? So I have 4 different packs here. A red pack with no coughing on it, just text warning label. So I can call this red text. I have a red pack with coughing on it. So red coughing. I have let's say a green pack with just text warning label. So green text. And I have a green text with coughing on it. So the question is, how does the packaging element, specifically color and the type of warning label, whether it's graphic or text only, how does that influence risk perception? So in that case, I upload my media and apply, right? So in the way the platform will do is each individual will be randomized to only one image. So the question here is, how harmful, on a scale of 1 to 10, how harmful do you think, or do you believe this tobacco product is? So that's the question I have, and this is, let's call this harm as a research as label, and scale of 0 to 10. So that if I push the questionnaire, let me move this question all the way to the top. Let me move the question all the way to the top. This was the last question, I believe. All right, let's move it to the top. So that when we apply that change, the platform would randomize each individual to view only one question. So let's preview that question now. So if you preview the question, so please view the media below, then answer the question that follows. On a scale of 1 to 10, how harmful do you believe this tobacco product is? See, I can provide an answer. So this is an experiment. Why? Because in an experiment, the investigator assigns treatment. Treatment doesn't have to be like a medication. It's just whatever exposure intervention you are randomizing people to. So in this case, I wanted to randomize people to 4 different interventions of media and see how the type of media you're exposed to influences your risk perception. So this is an experiment. Now, in your experiment, you may be actually giving treatment in the real world. Let's say you are a veterinary doctor and you are giving your animals different types of feed, and you want to see how does the type of feed influence the outcome. So in this case, the assignment of treatment is in the real world, but you have to collect the data somewhere, right? So you set up your instrument and you collect the data as you choose to do so. So in that case, you can still use a platform to collect the data, even though the assignment of treatment is in the real world. But if it's online, well, you can use the randomized trial question directly.
Thank you, Prof. Can we get a sample copy of a contract research proposal and questionnaire?
No, you can't. Those are confidential.
How can respondents view? Okay. Is the case question? Okay, sorry. Okay, this was repeated. Can those in management? Okay, I checked. Okay. I think I've asked all the questions that are on the chat box. If I missed your question, please post it again. How can I use the platform for statistical analysis?
So right now you can download your analysis report when you collect the data. And so the platform takes the data, analyzes it, and allows you to download it, as we mentioned earlier. If you wanted to do things like regression analysis and other sophisticated analysis, that will be possible on the full platform, which we are releasing in the next few months.
Please, what mine is showing, it doesn't allow all those icons you have in yours. Ngozi. Ngozi, can you explain? You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, Prof. Thank you for your lecture. I asked a question earlier. You pointed out some icons that I should follow. Initially, you said that you're working on it, on the cross-sectional and the longitudinal section, because I pointed out that it wasn't really highlighting for one to follow your instruction to work on that. But you showed us another way to go about it. But mine is not even showing all those icons. Like you said, we should go to time and some other icons you pointed out, but I don't have them on my own, so I don't know how to get them.
Okay, you do have them. Do you see a view icon here beside the time, the mode?
I don't have. When you click on that survey design, the survey design will take you to click on let's start the survey, where you have from data to action. Then you click on start new survey. Then from starting survey.
You have not even created a survey yet. You have to create the survey first. If you have not created a survey, you can't be in this page, obviously. This is because we have passed that stage. The initial, those two displays were just telling you that they were just informational. They were just telling you that the platform has capacity for cross-sectional and longitudinal. They were not actionable buttons. They were not buttons for you to click on. So the problem is that you are trying to click on things that are not buttons. So the idea is set up your survey, and then when you get into the survey, you can then switch it from longitudinal to cross-sectional, or however you want to do it. Does that make sense?
So how do I create the survey then from here?
How do you create the survey? You just go through the whole process of set up, next, and provide the aims and fill whatever. It's a simple one-step process. You provide the information, the title, and all of those things on the first page. The next page, you provide collaborators if you have any, or you skip if you don't, and that's how you do it.
Okay, before I get to the level you're in now. Okay.
Yes. That's when you get to this.
Okay, I'll try then. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think, can one use Chisquares to generate questionnaires to answer research objectives?
Sorry, I'm trying to understand the question. Are you asking whether we can create questionnaires on the platform? I'm assuming I missed something. Yes, that's the whole process we just went through the past 1 hour. Unless if you are referring to a different kind of questionnaire, which
to answer research objectives.
Yes, the whole point of creating a questionnaire is to answer the research question.
Charles, are you raising your hand?
If I miss some content, maybe the person can unmute and ask, because I'm not sure if I understand the question at all to start with.
Christopher, if you're still here, you can ask or you can elaborate. Okay, yes, I see you've unmuted.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Yeah, I think that is because I joined the lecture midway. I'm just trying to, but from what I can make up from when I joined, I just want to confirm if it's actually possible, like if Chi-Square can generate the questions themselves, or do I need to generate the questions and then impute it to Chi-Square? That's just what I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. So if you want to create the questions yourself, you come to this button here. So you don't have to import. You can create them on the platform. So you click this button that says add new survey item. You click on it. It asks you question type. You select the question type. These are different question types that exist. Single response questions, MCQ, and Likert scale. And like we just created a randomized. I'm not sure where that echo is coming from. Right. So yes, you can create questions. You can say MCQ. What's your gender? So here, let's call this gender as a variable name, boy, girl. And push questionnaire. So Is that what you're asking for? I just want to make sure that I am answering the right question. But if that is it, yes, you can create questions. And I think we went through some of that questions that were created too in real time.
Hello, Prof.
Yes.
Okay, like what you just explained, I'm the one typing. I mean, can this platform just create like maybe like ChatGPT, for example? If you say, okay, I need some questions, you start generating them, or is it just that? Is it that I have to type to respond to each of those spaces? Do I need to type, or guys, is there a place whereby Chi-Square, for example, if my research question, let me say I want to look at, let me say, which example can I give now?
I understand what you're saying. So if you want to, you can use the AI builder, and you can specify the number of questions you want. Let's say I want 8 questions, right? You generate the questions. The AI takes the context and it would create the questions for you with the response options, and you can just import the ones you want into your questionnaire. I assume that's what you're asking.
Yes. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. But having said that, I must quickly add also that as a researcher, you generally don't want to just take AI-generated content and use. Research must have a very strong intellectual component, where you, as the researcher, you are creating questions, right? Whether it's creating questions or interpreting data, there has to be that intellectual component too. So it's fine. You can use AI, but make sure you revise the content. Don't take it blindly. Okay, this is becoming a party. Please, can you mute yourself? All right, thanks. Any other question? Or are we all set?
Who manages the back end of the platform? And for a user like us, can we have full access to the back end?
What do you mean the back end?
No idea.
Yeah, because I need to understand
Okay.
the perspective from which we are asking the question from.
Charles.
Yes, Prof. I think some of these questions coming is something you have already addressed some time ago. If I could also understand what they mean by back end is some persons, they are so much concerned about where their data is stored. And I can remember vividly you've said that in such situations that those arrangements could be met where the data that they collect with the platform is also stored in a specific, server of whether an institution or an organization that feels, or perhaps they are working with very sensitive data that they are so concerned about the safety, as it is. That's what I understand from what that person is asking. Secondly, what I wanted to say is that on this tool, I can't wait to see, like, also you have also mentioned the fact that you're also working on how to see the plugins with other data collection, digital data collection platforms, how they can handshake with the Chi-Square, for example, where if one has a data with Kobo Collect with Red Cap, with Red Rose, with all of them, survey CTOs, how the platform can have a handshake so that if someone has a data in at those ends, Chi-Square can pull those, sorry, if it's questionnaire, can pull those data, or pull those questionnaires into the platform. So hopefully, as you have said, I can't wait for the I'm counting down to the 2 months or 3 months down the line where we'll have the fullest package on this platform so that we can even explore even more of what we are saying now. Thank you so much for all you've been doing and your team. Over.
Thank you very much.
Aminu? Oh, sorry, you can unmute yourself, Aminu.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Prof. My question is with regards to qualitative research. Please, can the app generate answers to questions? For example, when one has questionnaires, can the site provide answers to it? Thank you.
I'm confused. Why will you want the app to provide answers to questions? Maybe I'm not understanding you clearly. So I want to make sure I really understand what you're asking. When you do research, well, assuming it's population research or human subject research, you want to get answers from human beings out there in the world and bring them into your data so that you can get insights from what people are saying. So, of course, you have a whole world of what we call synthetic data, which is just fake data, but that is not meant to yield any insights about the population. It's just a kind of simulation. So maybe I don't understand what your question is, and if you could maybe clarify what you mean exactly. Okay. Well,
sorry, I mean,
generate and hello, Prof. Yes. I'm getting you. I mean, some researches are structured in such a way that they are meant to generate data from secondary sources. So can the app break into like certain areas to generate data when you input the questions for it?
I'm really struggling to understand the question, and so I just can't answer the question since I can't understand.
Hello, if I may.
Yes, please.
I think it's referring to qualitative data analysis.
Okay. Okay, let me just answer broadly. Yes, the platform can do qualitative data. You can ask open-ended questions on the platform. The platform will not answer the questions. The questions can be asked of people. So let's say I want to do like let's say on a structured interview, I can ask questions. So for example, I can create a question like an open-ended question that says, please type your answers here in 500 words, right? This is an open-ended question, a paragraph style question where people can, type whatever they want. This is paragraph text. I can also create other questions like a video questions, like let's say open-ended questions, but I want a multimedia response that says, please record your audio narrating your experiences. Right? I can call this audio, has changed this. And the same thing, I can change the settings to audio, video, whatever I want, right? And I push the questionnaire so that, let me move this question to the top. Multimedia response. Let's move this to the top, for example, so we don't have to scroll down. So you've added a question to your survey, but you have to first of all launch the survey. So you can't just expect that you'll come back 30 days and expect responses. That will not happen, right? Because that is not consistent with how we collect data. So, but if you launch the survey, let's say you have a preview here, and you started data collection, people can then record, right? So this is your participants. You can say, okay, the question is, please record your audio narrating your experiences. Can then speak as to whatever experiences you've asked them. The data will be captured, and such that when you eventually choose to collect the data, you have the data there, right? With speak as to whatever experiences you've asked them. So that is how, and then it submits, and then the data will be evaluated by the platform, analyzed, and all of that. But in terms of the platform just collecting, just filling in the answers for you, that is not consistent with research. So I hope that answers your question somehow in all of that response I gave. All right, next question, Lungile, if there's any.
Good evening, Prof.
Hi.
I'm trying to restructure that person's question, and which I knew that I think I understand that you've addressed it earlier.
Okay.
I think it's the issue of conducting a systematic analysis. Or meta-analysis, let me put it that way, because basically you are using secondary data, and the person specifically mentioned that using secondary data. So I think that's the explanation that the person is actually looking for, that yes, can the platform generate the secondary data, specifically when you're trying to conduct a meta-analysis, because it's actually from primary data, and then you sum it up as secondary data in your own research in that sense, which you addressed earlier, actually.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. That must be a very meandering question since it started from qualitative and ended in quantitative. But thank you very much for the clarification.
There are no further questions.
All right, super. Well, thanks everyone for attending, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Our session next week will focus on the paper itself. So how do you write? So that's what we're going to focus next week. So we look forward to seeing all of you next week then. Thank you.
Prof, there's one last question that just came in. Can Chisquares app, yeah, they wait for the last hour. Can the Chisquares app work like ODK in the area, picking geo coordinates?
So we've answered that question before. We've said yes, we're releasing that is the feature that is in beta testing now, which we're going to release soon, where you can capture data. I don't know how ODK works, but how we are doing it is you would have two options where you can either type a response address. Once you type the address, the platform will automatically harvest the geocoordinates that are associated with that address and upload it into the database. Or you have the alternative of also clicking on a location on the map. So you have either option, but yes, that's a feature that's already been built and will be released soon.
Okay, you can quickly disappear before another question comes.
I will do just so. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Prof.
Welcome, bye.
Thanks, everybody. Matthew, what you're asking for is quite funny. Is it John? Yes, sorry, John. Are you going to give us that session? Will you be the presenter, the instructor? Fuel subsidy removal. You can be the instructor, and we will be happy to upload that on our YouTube if you do it right. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope you're all following us on LinkedIn. And please don't forget to like, comment, repost our posts. This helps a lot with our marketing. That's how you can show your appreciation to Prof, who is doing so much to educate us. Please. Okay, let me share the LinkedIn page again. So here it is. Just click on the LinkedIn, the first one. Thank you. Please. We post our what do you call it? I'm tired now. Okay. We post our slides there. So if you want to access slides, whether these slides or older slides, they're all available on our LinkedIn page. YouTube, those who are asking for recordings, that's where you find our recordings on YouTube. So please subscribe on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, and you can just scroll through and see what we've been posting. If you want to download, you can just feel free to download the slides. Thank you so much, Dr. Masela. Akinola, join Chi-Squares. What do you mean? You want access to the Chi-Squares platform? And I hope you all have access to the platform so you can play around the surveys. You can create surveys. You can play around with the tools, the new tools that were just released, create proposals. Yeah. Calculate sample sizes. And please invite others to join us next week again. I hope you all know that we also have on Tuesdays the Python sessions. We are learning how to analyze data using Python. But next week is our last session, next Tuesday. But all that information is also available on our LinkedIn page. All right. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have the attendance register. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, Nelly Swam, Christian, Justice, Nafisa. You are all helping with sharing the links. Thanks a lot. You're very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Have a good evening, everybody. I believe you have everything you need. Attendance link. Abayomi. I'm going to share it now. But I'm scrolling up, looking for it. There you go. Benjamin, please. Okay, you didn't share your email address. Okay. Thanks for joining us. Kindly complete the survey if you want to share your email address so that we can send you a certificate at the end of the series next month, I believe. Thanks, Gina. Thanks, everybody. My name is Lungile Macarius. Macarius. That's an interesting name. It's the first time I see it. I'm used to Marcus. Are you French? Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Kuyet. Thanks, everybody. I always see your name, but I never know. Zichat, Zikat. Okay. Thanks. We appreciate you all. Thanks. Have a good evening. The first was closed. The chat. The chat. Okay. Next time I'll ask you to unmute and tell me what your name is, how to pronounce it. Oh, Ghanaian. Okay. Okay. I'm afraid to mess it up though, but I get. How to worry. Okay, good night, everyone. We'll close it here. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night. Link for Chi-Squares for the platform. Okay. Okay. Because I want you to try the platform. I was about to close, but here are the links. Create an account on www.chisquares.com, and then you use one of these links, right? Depending on where you're joining from. If you're based in Nigeria, we have a partnership with the NUC. So you'd have to just use the second link and then by Kennedy. And then if you're not around Nigeria, you can use the first link. So first create your account and then use these links to upgrade so that you can have free access. If you don't have free access, you can't use all the features. But with free access, you can create as many surveys as you want, and you can use all the features that would normally be paid for. Okay. So just copy those links and copy them and paste them somewhere, and then try to create your accounts and then use those links and follow the steps. Let us know if you have any issues next week, or you can write to us at info@chisquares.com if you experience any problems. Okay. Okay, we'll call it a night. Bye.